Rev up your engines. Okay, if you see one of these, you might wonder, what the heck is it? Looks a little like a Celica. It's actually a Toyota Paseo. Now, they made them in Japan, and as you can see inside the door, they turned them into convertibles in Long Beach, California. And as you can see, what a difference. It's now not a Toyota Paseo, it's a beautiful convertible. And it does have a lot of the looks of a Celica. Now, the gentleman bought it as a beater car. He paid like $1,700 driving around, but he thought, hey, I like this car. I'm gonna make something out of it. And he's probably put another $6,000 into it, but look what he's got now. It's a beautiful black convertible. It's very nice aluminum wheels. I like the aluminum wheels. A nice convertible top. A great little sporty car, and of course, it may be a convertible, but it's a Toyota convertible. Does it start? Starts right up. It's only got 122,000 miles on it. Being a Toyota, everything works. Air conditioning, heat, electric windows, and lo and behold, the original Paseo seats, just to give it some originality, are still here and still in pretty good shape. Cloth does hold up over time. It's still got the original radio. And it still works with the tape deck. AM, FM, and tape. And you can even rewind and fast forward the tape. What will they think of next? Now, if you don't think this isn't going to turn heads when you're driving around, you're out of your mind. These are as rare as hen's teeth, especially in this condition. Now, historically, this thing came to Virginia, then Massachusetts, where it spent most of its life. But the undercarriage is still in good shape. I don't see any rust, corrosion, because even in '97, Toyota knew how to underproof their cars, how to rust-proof them. If it would have been an '89 or a '90 or even a '91, there might be some rusty, but by '97, they got it pretty down pat. I mean, of course, the newer, they're really down pat. My mother had a 2007 Toyota Corolla in Buffalo, and it didn't have any rust on it at all. Look under the hood. It's got the usual Toyota reliability. Now, if you know anything about the Paseos, they're not race cars. This is just a 1.5 liter naturally aspirated port fuel injector ignition on coil system. Now, this thing's only got 93 horsepower. They're not race cars, but it's very dependable. When you think about it, it's a tiny car and it barely weighs a ton. It's like 2,060 pounds. So it's a light car. And actually, this weighs a little bit less because it's got a convertible top. So just to give you a comparable, the 07 Matrix weighs 700 pounds more than this Paseo does. So it's a light car. It doesn't need a particularly huge engine. Now, it's not a race car, but it's fun to drive around. But the main thing is their reliability. They start first time, every time. And check it out. This is how well made these things are. It's a 1997, but it's still got the original plastic radiator. Plastic is not necessarily bad if it's made correctly. It's not leaking, it works perfectly fine. I've seen some Toyotas that were 40 years old with the original radiators. If they're not leaking, my advice, leave them alone. They made them better back in the day. The plastic was actually thicker than the modern ones. Of course, being a Toyota, if you ever need parts like power steering pump, water pump, any parts, air filters, any discount auto store will either have them in stock or they can get them in a few hours. They share parts with all the other Toyotas, even though it's an old car. You're not gonna have any problem getting parts for them, and they aren't all that expensive. So let's take it for a ride. Old car, small engine. Does it shake? Not really. And it's a nice day to have a convertible. Wouldn't have been yesterday, it was pouring rain. It still handles quite well. You know, basically it's a little bitty sports car. They are fun to drive around, yet they're dependable, the air conditioning works, everything works. Now we take it on the bumpy road here, and yeah, you're gonna feel the bumps because this still has the original struts on it. And they are somewhat worn, but it's still drivable, really. I mean, it doesn't drive much worse than that $65,000 Tesla, really, on a bumpy road. And it does have an ultra-reliable Toyota Aisin automatic transmission that can run forever. But now comes the real test. We'll come to a stop and see what this 93 horsepower can do. Here we go. Makes a lot of noise. It still shifts like a dream, and it's fun to drive. Yeah, it's not a race car, but it still gives you more miles per gallon than most cars will with this little drop top. Now, if you pulled up in a Toyota Paseo, people wouldn't even notice you, but show up in this drop top with this beautiful black paint job, people are gonna be looking at you. It's that kind of car, especially on a sunny day like today. And like I say, look at this. Still shifts like a dream. Downshifts, upshifts. These transmissions are virtually indestructible. Well, now we're back where we started from, only a lot happier than when we started. But think about it. A car that costs less than $2,000, now he's got less than $8,000 into it. $8,000 for this fun toy. What are you gonna get for that? A used Volkswagen or something? You know? And yes, it's old, but it's a Toyota. And with that kind of mileage, 120,000 miles, you know it's gonna last. And last and last. I had customers with plain Jane Paseos. They were still going at 375, 400,000 miles. Still ran pretty good, hardly burned any oil at all. And those indestructible automatic transmissions were still shifting as smooth as can be. And if you're a real pro, you would have noticed something. This isn't a Toyota black. This is a Mercedes black. He liked the color better, and I have to agree. As you can see, this is the original color black. This is a much nicer black. I have to agree. I'm always giving free car advice out to people. Well, today I'm also giving out free tools. I'm giving one of these laser temperature guided temperature sensors so you can check the temperature of stuff. You can use it in your house. You can use it on your head, but mainly you can use it to find out what's wrong with your car. To have a chance to win, place a clean, non-offensive comment on the YouTube comments below, and the winner will be randomly chosen by computer to win a cool temperature sensor that's laser guided so you can find out temperature problems with one click of the trigger. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Yusuf says, I'm looking at a Subaru Turbo EJ25 engine. I'm thinking about getting a used WRX STI. Are they known for head gasket problems like the older Subaru? Generally it was 99 to 2011 that Subarus had head gasket problems. The turbos that they make now actually have a completely different head gasket design. The engineers at Subaru aren't stupid, and they got a lot to do with Toyota now. Maybe they're sharing Toyota engineers, I don't know. It's a different composition head gasket, and I don't see the newer turbos blowing head gaskets in those. The only problem with buying one used is those WRXs. A lot of young guys buy them and they beat the heck out of them, just like a Ford Mustang with a V8 engine. They buy them, they drive the heck out of them, and then you buy a used one that's a falling out piece of crap. If the seller is an older guy like me or a middle-aged guy that doesn't go like a maniac, could be a good car. But if it's a young guy, I generally walk away. But regardless, get a guy like me to check it out with the scan tool and analyze it. You can't hide from the scan tool. We could see, is everything worn by the data coming out of it? I'd say that's all worn out as a piece of junk. Or I might say, hey, this is in immaculate shape, it's been taken care of, and go ahead and buy it. Not that they have head gasket problems with the new turbos because they redesigned it. But if somebody wrecks the heck out of a car driving it like a maniac, it doesn't matter how well made it is, eventually a lot of stuff will end up wearing out. Kay says, my Ford Taurus wagon 2002 won't go up hills. I push the gas, it struggles to go over 40 miles an hour. I took it to the shop. They said the DPFE sensor burned off. 2 hoses popped off. They fixed it. It still struggles to go up. What should I do? Well, one, start with a different mechanic, because the DPFE sensor is just an anti-pollution thing, and it's not going to make your car struggle to go uphill. Generally, that is either a clogged fuel filter or a weak fuel pump. Change the fuel filter. Maybe that'll fix it. If not, pressure test the pump. You probably find the pump isn't putting out enough pressure. That's one of the main reasons they can't go uphill but run okay. Your mechanic, hey, the guy's not a very good mechanic. You should have put on his thinking cap and thought, well, this anti-pollution differential pressure feedback for the exhaust or the EGR system, that's not going to make a car not go up hills. Any mechanic would have thought that. This guy's just going by codes that you got and didn't think. Old cars, and that car's what? 20 years old. 19, 20, whatever you want to say. Obviously, you're going to have more than one problem in a car. So a good mechanic like myself, we don't go by just scan, oh, it's got this code, blah, blah, blah. No, we think, well, that code isn't going to make it not go up hills. Let's check the fuel filter, pressure test the fuel pump. You need a better mechanic. That's where you should start out. Artie says, I ran over a curb. Now there's a creaky noise from my front suspension. I got a 2019 Mustang. I oversteered on a wet road and ran over the curb in the same direction. I didn't hit it sideways, but I rolled over it. The rim's not damaged, tires didn't deflate, doesn't pull left or right, but now it creaks. You're lucky you went over it and not sideways, because sideways you're going to bend the lower control arm, because it'll go like that. The lower control arm is relatively thinner, it'll bend it in. But you're hearing a creaking noise. What I would do if I were you, because a lot of times the rubber isn't really damaged. I mean, you want to jack it up, pull off the wheel, look at all the rubber bushings and see if any have cracked and broken, and if they are, you're going to have to replace it. But if not, get yourself a bottle of AT205 Reseal. I talk about it all the time. It's a polymer oil, and what it does is it rejuvenates rubber. You spray it on all the rubber bushings at night, then let it sit overnight, 12 hours, so it soaks in. then drive it. If the creaking goes away, thanks Scotty for fixing it. But you do want to jack it up and see if any of the rubber bushings have cracked. Because if they crack and now metal is touching metal and it's creaking, you're going to have to replace it. But a lot of times spraying AT205 reseal on it will stop all that noise. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.